Hello, this is Derek Bertubin, term 1402, Mobile Player Experience. Today we're going to cover two heuristics. One is game mobility as well as multiplayer. The first game that I'm going to show or cover today is Scramble with Friends, and the actual platform that I played on was iOS. Now, as far as the game mobility heuristics, everything did pretty well except for one instance where I was calling myself, and at the end of a game, when you're comparing the results and looking through the words, and if you get a phone call at that point, some bug allows two views to overlap each other, and it prevents the user from actually being able to exit that page. Aside from that, the game contrasts, look good. I didn't see any glare, fingerprints, but one disclaimer is that I do have an anti-glare screen. They actually put it on when they replaced the screen of my phone last week. Other than that, multiplayer heuristics. The With Friends traditionally has a good multiplayer asynchronous experience. One thing, it doesn't work offline, and as I was thinking about it, being able to cache game states on the exit of a game or after a turn could allow a player to see where they left off, or even play their turn offline, then to be synced later when the device is back online. So, for instance, if this game, if I'm not connected to the network, let's say on an iPod, I can't even open the game. So this doesn't allow me to review anything. It doesn't allow me to look at other games that I've played. It doesn't allow me to do anything. So I'm less likely to even think about the game. Let's say I'm playing 3 people and it's my turn on 3 games. It's 3 game instances I could be playing while offline. As soon as I hit online, the results of that game could be sent to the network, then alerting the other player that it's their turn with the results. I thought that it could be implemented a little better, but other than that, the scores were actually pretty low, 2 on each. So I definitely liked what I saw there. Now, here's a game. The next one we did is Real Racing, or the next one I did was Real Racing. And as far as mobility, it took a long time for the play sessions to start up and stop. Well, not necessarily stop. I noticed that the pause button was in the top left-hand corner. It was easy to stop and resume. Even if I shut down my device, it allowed me to, as it was recalling the information and recreating it, very minimal time to start the game back up. Although from game to game, it took a very long time, and I thought that was a minor severity, worth a minor severity rating, just because it could be up to a minute before you could get into the next game. And I think this had something to do with networking. I'm on a pretty fast network and on a pretty fast device, so for it to take that long, there could be some optimization with how the network calls are being handled, and minimizes the amount of network interaction. If there's processing on the back end, within the app, I couldn't imagine what would take it up to a minute for it to allow me to get to the next game option. Moving on to the multiplayer heuristics, where I gotta say, this game was traditionally a single player game. Real Racing 2 was single player. Going into Real Racing 3, it then supported a pseudo multiplayer experience where you could race against your friends using ghost racing. Now, I thought about this as far as supporting communication and reasons to communicate. I think there's no occurrences specifically in any specific place, but I think that some recommendations is, there should be some sort of messaging. Maybe even messaging in the game replay. Maybe allow the user to tap and notate something so that when they are ghost racing, there could be some sort of taunt, especially towards the end. I think this may even cause people to want to play even more because of that frustration. I can't beat you, and allow that player who maybe, let's say, won that beat that person in the time, or even allowing first place, allowing first place people to add messaging. Because of the nature of ghost racing, that race may last for a long time. Maybe racing a few people, and it's not a real linear, direct conversation at that point, but at least kind of dropping notes. I think that would be a good way to communicate, and a good reason to communicate as well, because it just adds a different dynamic other than just the race. If you're leaving a trail of your race, leave some sort of message. Allow it to be more personal, and even direct messaging. If somebody's online, or somebody's just beating you can see if they just played. Some direct messaging would be awesome. Game helps players find other players in game instances. By nature, whoever's on Facebook or that, it definitely allows that to happen. Great game supports groups and communities. It does, but it doesn't to the extent of maybe, once again, coming up with teams. I think a team play would be awesome. The device or the design minimizes deviant behavior as well. Just to say, this game was hacked pretty quickly, and so with that, this is major too. Now, some of the recommendations are, there's an internal currency or economy within the game. And, you can actually buy large amounts of currency with in-app purchases. But while in-app purchases, there's an incentive to do that because people actually withdraw $30 to buy a lot of currency so that they can upgrade their cars and do a lot of mods. It really opens up a window for the game to be hacked bad. And I think there was like 50 million, the hack applied like $50 million. And you can basically buy any and every car and upgrade them immediately without even really getting past the first level or the first race. So you're going into these initial races, where you have to, some of the races by nature allowed you to, or required you to have stock cars and upgraded cars. But for the most part, there is no checks and balances. How much money is available at a certain race. I think that a natural progression of skill level, as you are beating certain races or certain tracks with certain cars, should allow you to purchase larger increments of money, and those options shouldn't even be available, I don't think, until you've progressed through the game. I think that may be one way to alter the design in order to minimize that desire to cheat, or even the ability to cheat. Other than that, the last thing, kind of alluded to this, the design hides effective network. Once again, it took a long time. I don't know if it was necessarily network issues, but even down to the very beginning where I had to download the game's content, I felt like I had downloaded the game very quickly, but then when I initially installed it on the device, but especially on Android, it took like maybe a minute and a half to download, but then it took me almost 10 minutes to download the whole entire game. Where it is a very robust game, these things, I was ready to play. And then again, from game to game, that was a big issue. As soon as I completed the game, going to that next level took up so much. So, working on how data is handled, minimizing the amount of network interaction, and maybe using the connection thinking in a part where the player is looking for a specific thing, waiting for that next option. So that was it. This is my function for